Welcome to Ask a Psychic. Wow, guys, it is 2024. And well, let me just be a little vulnerable here. I actually sought out somebody to advise me and give me some counsel. A lot of you who follow me know me. I had a very tumultuous 2023. And so I really needed to find someone that I could talk to, that I could feel could get connected to me and help me connect to greater intelligence and and really understand some things that I needed to focus on and work on in my life. And so I would love to introduce you all to this incredible human being that I have been spending some time with, getting coaching from. And in that relationship, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be so amazing if people just had the opportunity to ask you questions? And I asked Jasenia if she'd be interested in doing that. And she was like, well, yeah, of course. This is what I do. So everybody, welcome Jasenia Nozalilo. She is incredible. Hello. Welcome to our YouTube channel. I'm so happy to have you here. I feel blessed to call you friend. And I'm so grateful that you're in my life. Welcome.
Oh, that's so beautifully sweet. Thank you so much. And it's, I think that that's probably the most important part of the job, is that there is a deep vulnerability that comes through when you're healing and working through that kind of stuff. And, very courageous of you to share that. Thank you.
Of course. Now, guys, I want to just be, I want everybody to understand this is entertainment purposes. If you get any advice or she shares anything with you today, medical, financial, just understand, use your discernment, use your mind, use your common sense and whatnot. But that's just a legal disclaimer. And I'm going to toss that there now. You guys got it. You're adults. Do what you do. Be how you be. But if you would like to be on the live, Bobby is putting a link in the chat, and you can actually hop in and ask Jasenia a question yourself. I want to get it off. I want to start it off because I want the audience to build up a little bit. We've already got a bunch of people on YouTube and on Instagram watching, but I want to start off with just a question about the 2024 election. What do you think's gonna happen? Who's gonna win
it? I think that it's a really interesting time for politics in general. Because we're taking huge changes where we're kind of deconstructing the system from the inside out. So we're kind of like in a volatile time for politics and for the education system and even for the financial system. A lot of things are kind of crumbling and being reconstructed around us. So I can't say who specifically I think might win, but it is going to be I feel like this particular election is going to be very messy, and it's setting the stage for huge transformation as we move forward. It almost feels like the best of a worst case situation. It kind of feels like a place of desperation right now, to be honest. And then I feel like we will be moving into, actually, I'm really excited about the 2028 election, because I feel like that's where things are really going to shift and change.
So do you feel like we've had the pendulum sort of pulled back, and we're in this period right now where, as you had called it, a deconstruction, right? And if I'm trying to piece together what you're saying, I'm looking at who I think the candidates are. I think we're going to have Biden, Trump as the two candidates, and if we're looking at deconstructing the establishment, I think that Biden represents the establishment, and Trump was always anti-establishment. And so I'm almost sensing and feeling that if this deconstruction hypothesis is how it goes, then we may be leaning that direction.
Well, the deconstruction process is already underway, first of all. So it's already flooding forward. And I think that really what's happening is both candidates bring their own version of divide, and both candidates are bringing their own version of kind of anarchy to the process. And I know that the anarchy is really valuable right now, because things don't change without a little bit of excitement and turmoil. And unfortunately, that makes a lot of people nervous. But there are really big changes coming for the world. So all I can say really is that the anarchy is an important part of transformation, and we are under some pressure to really change the world. It's about time, though. I think a lot of people are ready for that.
Awesome. I'm gonna start. We've actually got a bunch of people in the already in the backstage wanting to talk to you. So guys, I see you all back there, and I'll be bringing you on. The link is in the chat if any more of you want to jump in. It is only an hour show, so I don't know how many we will get through, but I will try to get through as many as possible. And I'm not going to hog the stage, but I have one more question because it's just pertinent to my my business and the audience that is mainly why they follow me. So what are your predictions for real estate in 2024?
So I think it depends on the types of projects. Actually, I just had this discussion with one of my clients the other day, and I'm not seeing I always say real estate is it's almost like a beautiful equation of risk, right? So right now, I would say over the next year or two that affordable housing is going to be really, really important. And it feels like a lot of real estate is going to go up that needs repair, needs work. And it feels like people are going to get really good deals on these properties, but it's more about like affordable housing buildings, apartment buildings, like getting, small houses ready to go. I feel like that's really where the gold is right now, as people kind of like scoop up and clean up the market. So
I totally agree with that.
Projects.
Yeah.
And
Interestingly
I'm seeing a little
enough,
bit more risk in like the more luxurious projects. I'm just seeing a little bit more risk.
Okay, so the focus should be on really providing housing units for vulnerable people rather than focusing on luxury or the haves in the world. We really want to be looking at the have-nots, and it's actually where I started pivoting to last year in my rental strategy, moving away from luxury rentals, which is what I used to actually buy all the time. I'd buy these. I'm in one right now in my California beach house. This is supposedly my luxury beach house rental, but in Los Angeles, they changed the Airbnb rules like right before I closed, and I didn't know. So this couldn't become a rental for me. It ended up being just my house. So and that's cool because I actually don't want anybody sleeping in my bed. And so I'm happy that it is what it is. But I love it. I've also made a pivot towards co-living and shared living as a type of housing. I think that's an incredible really insight, and I think that I've seen a lot of really good returns in that regard. So thank you for that. I'm gonna now step off my soapbox. I'm gonna give other people a chance to talk, but I'm gonna bring up Yvette to the stage. Hello, Yvette.
Hi. Hi, Jasenia. So happy to have you and to have this show with you. We're really excited.
Me too. It's already fun.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in there. The question that I have is, what are some significant changes that you see coming in for me in 2024?
This is really interesting. So, you have an interesting relationship with yourself. I feel like for most of your life, you've kind of struggled prioritizing yourself and feel like having a healthy relationship with yourself. And it's really interesting that 2024 feels like you are really figuring that out, embracing yourself, loving yourself, enjoying the experience, doing more of what you love, traveling more. And it feels really fulfilling and beautiful for you. It feels really healing.
Yes. Awesome. That's the kind of energy I'm in right now. I've been, just doing a lot more of following my heart and doing things without overthinking them. So definitely.
It feels beautiful and adventurous. I like the adventure. I think that's fun.
Yeah, I have a new relationship, so I think that has something to do with it.
Yes. Well, on the journey to self-love, we find that our relationships elevate and they become much more powerful and meaningful. So that's always great inspiration too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to let someone else jump in so I don't take up all your time, but thank you, Jasenia.
Thanks for being brave and showing up and being the first one.
Yes, she was very brave. And actually, I know that she was nervous asking questions. And I have, interestingly enough, I haven't really seen Yvette travel a lot, but just like the other day, there she was in Jerome, taking these little road trips and doing fun things. So that was a really interesting insight. And so happy to see that. Next, I'm going to bring up a really incredible astro flipping community member who has jumped in and he's taken the community by storm. He's building, I'm not going to say too much more. I'm going to just kind of let him do his thing. I'm bringing up Nathan Harris. Nathan Harris, how you doing, bro?
Oh, Jamil, thank you for the intro. That was wonderful.
Nice to see you. I'm see you have some questions here, so I'm going to let you ask.
Yeah, so I want to know about making the definition of astro flipping literal. And what I mean by that is I want to know what you see as the future of space travel and also human evolution. So what I mean by human evolution is the integration of technology and humans.
Well, this is a really fun subject, actually. I love this subject. I think a lot of people are terrified of AI. And I think that that's kind of sad, but also really understand that it's hard for people to embrace dramatic change. So I love the idea of AI. I don't think that any change happens without consequence and without learning kind of how we fucked it up a couple different times here and there. So I know that there will be highs and lows, and I see that because it's a common, it's normal. But I love AI, and I actually think that it is a beautiful thing eventually that AI will be taking over a lot of the jobs and a lot of the unnecessary responsibilities, because it actually frees humans up to heal, to enjoy their lives, to live more fulfilling experiences, to not be working ridiculous, exhausting 60-hour 9-to-5s that could easily be managed by technology. So I see it as a great blessing for humanity, but I think humanity is going to take a really long time to get there where they're open to that type of change. And actually this year, we're going to see a lot of really major technological advancements. So I'd say that instead of being afraid of it, we should be looking for jobs that are not replaceable, jobs that are important or imperative, like AI can't read people yet. AI can't do the psychic stuff yet. It can give us measurable predictions and do other really cool things, but there are certain skills we can focus on that are primarily human. And I think that people should do more of that if they're really nervous about it, get proactive instead of stunted in their own fear. But I think it's really important. And I definitely understand why evolution can be a little scary for some people.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, the AI, because is AI an evolution of the human race, or is it something separate?
It is an evolution of the human race. I do believe that. I do believe it's an extension of, so actually it's not even the first time it's happened. There are tons of experiences, like you said, if we're talking about really like the planetary experience, the soul level experience, the interdimensional experience, we've done this a million times. It's not really new technology. We've used this stuff before. We've integrated before. We've seen it work before. But like I said, there are side effects and there are learning curves to integrating something as powerful as that, and then learning to kind of be friends with it and utilize it. And I think that what people are going to find is that technology is capable of emotional development. And I think that'll be the scariest part for people, but it's actually powerful and important because there is a certain consciousness that develops over time. And it does. If people understood that, I think they would understood that there's less likeliness that we become enemies and more likeliness that we become, friends with this type of technology.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. As AI starts to develop an understanding of emotions, at what point does dropping your phone become abuse?
Well, I think it's different. There are people who drop their babies.
Yeah.
So it's all in the air. But there's just like there's different levels of consciousness. There's different levels of technological consciousness that will develop. Like, for example, like a blade of grass is conscious, holds memory, has an energy system, right? Can respond to its environment. It's readable. I can read a piece of grass and tell what's been going on around it. So it holds a memory code. I think everything is like, there's memories in the air that we can receive and be a part of. And a lot of people become aware of it when they walk into a room and they think like, oh, it feels like crap in here. Did somebody just argue? Like I could, they say I could cut the air with a knife or whatever that saying is. But people feel energy and they feel that residual energy, even if it's not a whole human being. So I think there are different levels of consciousness, and that some, it's more like an experience than it is abuse or pain or something else beyond that. We step on grass and we're not going to prison for it. So I think that it's kind of similar that way.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
At first, anyway. There may be more ethical concerns about it down the road.
Awesome. Thank you for elaborating on that so deeply. I don't want to take up too much
Great
time.
question. Great question, Nathan. Phenomenal question. And, he's got this dream of colonizing space. And so I'm that question definitely made sense. Nathan, love you, bro. See you later.
Love you too.
Jasenia, I'm wondering if you would be open, since it's our first show and, people are still kind of trying to figure out like what's going on here. Are you okay if we went a little long today?
I'll let you know if there's a problem, I think.
Okay, cool. Not super long, but I think maybe just because we've got a lot of people really wanting to jump in here. So next I'm going to go into our next guest, who is Tim Turner. Tim Turner. We can't really see you, Tim, but maybe turn around. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, let's get some light on your face. There he is, the handsome man. How are you, Tim? You can stay right there. No, where you were before with the light. Yeah, right there's great. Perfect, Tim. And I'm gonna let you ask your question.
I just want to know, once I pitch my idea to Jamil, is he going to want to be my business partner this year?
I always tell people that successful people want to see people who are already doing the work, and they want to see something different that they're not already doing. So when developing that, I would focus on those two aspects and make it a really strong pitch, and focus on, am I already doing it? Do I have information to share or show? And is it something he can't do on his own?
Yeah, it's a good question. He's got a lot more resources than I do.
That never stopped me in the beginning, and it hasn't stopped me ever since, Tim. So I'm sure there's something in the horizon there at some point. But I like that answer. I think that was great, Tim. I love you, bro. Great question. We're gonna keep it popping over here. Thank you.
Love y'all. Bye.
Love you. Next up, we've got an incredible community member, someone I don't get to see super often, but I'm really excited to hear what she has to ask you. Hello, Sarah Miller. Nice to see you. How you been?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really good, but guess what? This is not about me. It's about you.
Oh gosh, I love him. Hi, Jasenia. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Sarah. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm wondering what my money blocks are from and how can I get rid of them?
One moment, please. This one's interesting. You're very heavy in your logic, which actually makes it hard for you to receive, because it has to make sense to you to such a degree that it feels like you almost create blocks to it, or you don't see a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be careful about that. I would say, put yourself in more situations, or learn about more situations where people are letting themselves be taken care of. Like, for example, this was really hard for me too. So I understand it on a personal level. But some of those experiences that I would want you to consider is there are people in the world who do nothing and are taken care of, right? And it's like they're never considering where that money's coming from. I don't think that that's a great strategy, and I don't think that that's going to lead anybody to millions of dollars, but kind of playing with the idea that it's possible and that you don't always need to fully understand the plan, because it's becoming a restriction. So essentially you're like nickel and diming these transactions and these experiences and your goals, when they really could be a lot bigger if you just kind of thought bigger, and let that make sense to you down the road. I like to do a process I call like reverse engineering the goal, which means that when I'm sitting in a client, I see the huge goal and then we talk about little tiny steps to get there. And then I give them a, what can we do today? And then that's their job. That's their only job. You forget about the goal. You forget about the future. You forget about where it's going. But now we have actionable steps to get there. So I'd say if you really want to try to like expand the mind and shatter these limitations you're creating by overthinking these situations, visualize a what if I could have anything I wanted, what would that look like? What would my goal look like? And then simply say, let's play a game and make it possible. So reverse engineer it. You know, how many buildings would that take to manage? You know, how many tenants would I need to make that cost? How, and then break it down to like, what down payment would I need today? And make that your goal, right? That's obtainable. Now it makes sense. But loosely put, it feels like you're struggling with the you're kind of like mentally abusing the plan because you're going so aggressively at how to make it work instead of kind of living the pattern. And I like to, you know, this is a good lesson for everybody that we sometimes kill visions before they take off because we refuse to implement. We're kind of stuck in the overthinking and planning process that we're not actually taking action. And a lot of the growth happens in action, you know, where we're out there, we're doing this stuff, we're meeting the people, we're shaking hands, and suddenly the things we didn't think were possible are possible. So a little bit of hope, a little bit of planning, and a little bit of action.
Okay. I'm just curious, like, did it come from like a past life? Is it trauma in this life? Like, I want to understand, like, how did I get this? Because I'm surrounded by so many people who have no issues with this, and it's baffling.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I love figuring out the why. So, you know, tantalizing here. I do see a lot, and I don't want to go so super deep that we have to take up the whole hour. But generally speaking, the overthinking aspect is, let me see what they're saying here. So it's fascinating. You have an agreement of both. So it's you more in your masculine energy, right? So what this means is you don't feel safe in your feminine. So you likely have a couple of situations and moments and scenarios in your own childhood where you struggled feeling safe and secure, and you didn't have a lot of really healthy, strong masculine role models. There likely was a lot of patterns of vulnerability and struggle there. But then you flip also where your feminine feels really vulnerable and struggles speaking up for themselves and kind of defending themselves and feeling secure. So it's interesting because, you know, I love the feminine masculine polarity, but we carry energies of both. So it's really important to know when to flip polarities, right? When to be able to receive or be vulnerable or accept, and when to build, when to create businesses, and when to flourish. So there's a little bit of damage on both in a way that's kind of creating this stir up that's really causing this block for you. So it's the not feeling secure in your feminine, which means you don't like being you don't like being vulnerable and then struggle receiving and being taken care of. Right. And then there's the settling with the masculine, which is like, and then there's the fear of taking action, the fear of implementation, and the fear of thinking too big. There's that fear of failure. So those wounds would be considered feminine masculine, but that's the theme for them. I do love themes because they help us find resources. So that's why I point out those themes for you. So if you really wanted to continue some of this work, you could follow me on my page. I give a lot of resources. I share a lot of tools and stuff for people. I do also have a group on Discord where we do a lot of this work, and I give people assignments and they go kind of do their own evaluation of work. We talk about it. And also, like, you could Google, you know, masculine wound strengthening, masculine expression, or feeling safe, feeling secure, healing the wounded feminine. Those would be really valuable subjects for you to continue kind of doing the work in this life through this experience.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So welcome. Thank you for being great and coming on.
Yeah, that was super, super cool. Thank you, Sarah. Love you so much. We're going to keep it going over here. We've got so many people wanting to pop in, but we are going to be moving and shaking. So Bobby's going to put that link in the chat. If you guys want to come on in. Next up is Brian Tenney. What's up, Brian? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
It's not about me. It's about you.
All right. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing very well. So I'm a big proponent of law of attraction, stuff like that, and I really wholeheartedly believe in it. And I really want to basically do a quantum leap in my life. So I'm just wondering if I'm going to be able to do that this year, or if I have, kind of along Sarah's line too, if I have some blocks.
Okay, so as someone who helps people do quantum leaps every day, my greatest piece of advice I could give you if you want to put all your attention into something to really elevate yourself is past life clearing. And most of us on earth have had anywhere from 300 to 700 past lives. And the reason I recommend this is because a lot of our wounds are the anchors we carry. And those anchors are usually past life blocks. If we consider that psychology is fairly new, there's a lot of things we've never actually resolved or cleared or made peace with. So releasing those anchors actually helps do what we call the quantum leap. The anchors are gone. We're kind of flowing through life freely, and the abundance and attraction amplifies sometimes tenfold. And I tell people that healing does amplify manifestation. It amplifies growth, self-esteem, security, direction, everything, including gifts. It also amplifies our gifts. So it helps us be more intuitively led and more secure in that. So I absolutely say if you're going to do something this year to give yourself that opportunity to do a quantum leap, go hard on the past life healing.
Okay.
Jasenia, real quick, can you elaborate a little bit on what that is? Like, how do you clear that? Like, how's that even possible?
Well, I love questions. I think above all, I'm a teacher. I just really love educating. So I love questions, and thank you for asking. So we have something in our body, if I'm trying to be more elementary but quick, everybody has something we call chakras. Chakras are energy centers of the soul. I call them filing cabinets of the soul. So they're kind of like onions. If you were to pull up a chakra, it would have all these beautiful, really intricate layers. And it would also house traumas or experiences and memories of your past lives. So a lot of people, what we call Kundalini experience or healing or clearing or chakra clearing, a lot of people are only doing surface level stuff. They are only reaching the energy they're projecting or presenting. And a lot of people just aren't going deep enough or knowing how to go deeper. We do have, I believe all of us have gifts. I do read gifts in people. I believe all of us have a natural intuitive connection, and we all have spirit guides. Whether we use it or not is up to the individual. Trauma does distract us from these connections. So we find that we feel blocked or disconnected or unled, but really they're there. It's just that the noise is so loud from the wounds, from the patterns, from the disbelief, from the inability, from the lack of awareness that we carry in those wounds. So when we heal and clear those, we do quantum leaps. There's a lot of science around it. If you follow Dolores Cannon or if you Google past life clearings and healings, some of the really amazing things that happen are, I've seen clients, and I'm sharing real life stories here. I've seen clients release illness, depression, anxiety, pains, aches. I'd see them be more vibrant and healthy. They connect better. One lady had narcolepsy, and I didn't even know that we cleared it during past life stuff. And I didn't know anything about it. It just happened. So there's a lot of things that we clear as we realign, but also what happens is we don't have to come back to learn the lesson. So Earth is very experiential. And if we have a block or a trauma or a karmic debt, we would have to come back to surface to clear it, to make peace with it. Going back and being proactive in healing and clearing those lives actually means we don't have to come back to clear it. So when we're saying quantum leap, we mean quantum leap. You're evolving very quickly, but also there's less trauma to come back to repair. So you have less lives in the future. And a lot of people like the idea of that because Earth is hard. And so there's a couple of different ways to do that. I read past lives, I clear past lives. There are a lot of past life regression therapists and healers out there that do that. And there are YouTube self-hypnosis and guides that are available on YouTube now. So there's a lot of great ways to do that and be aware of your own experiences and lives. And I say it's fun for everyone. I was actually a skeptic, which I think is hilarious. And I kind of got in and just stayed open-minded about it. And now I just can't believe I was ever a skeptic. But I think healthy skepticism is good for everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Brian, for the vulnerability and for asking the question. We love you, bro. See you
Love
again.
you too, man.
All right, we're gonna keep it going over here. Next up, we've got Diane. Diane, how are you?
Hello.
I'm sorry, I had to unmute you. I'm doing well. Thanks, Jamil, for doing this for us, first of all.
Of course.
Thanks to Sunny as well.
I'm enjoying myself. This is fun. I'm really enjoying the questions. And look, guys, I want everyone to be clear here. Whether or not if you're like you just heard Jasenia say she was skeptical herself about things. So if there's things here that you find, hey, I can't really get down with that, or it's not really my thing, that's totally okay. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing in your life right now. I think it's one of the most important things for us to accept is that, like, we are where we are for a reason, and never feel bad about that. Never feel bad about who you are or what you are. But that's all I wanted to say about it. I don't want to take your time up. So Diane, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, Jasenia.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, I've been doing bits and pieces over the years to start into real estate investing, including having Jamil's course. But I feel like I keep letting life get in the way. And I don't want to say I'm self-sabotaging, but it kind of feels like I am. Right now, I have 5 weeks surgery that I can put into it. But is this going to be like my diving board where I'm jumping off and I'm into it, or is it going to take me a little longer?
That's a beautiful question. And I love the awareness of possible self-sabotage, because that's huge. And I think that if more people were aware, they would definitely be a little bit harder on themselves and kind of like show a little bit more discipline in that. Everybody has these. So I think this is really good for everybody to understand and hear. Everybody has a threshold, an abundance threshold, a freedom threshold, a security threshold. And I think a couple of things happen when we go in for working for ourselves or creating for ourselves. Is there's a fear of, what if I fail? It's all on me, right? And there's that's a lot of weight to carry, but also it takes a little bit of risk. And this is why I think it's really fascinating. A lot of people think like, oh, I would, if I was rich, I'd do this and this and that, or if I was wealthy, I'd do that. And it's kind of like, you don't understand the risk it takes to put yourself out there to really transform your life and do things that require a little bit more discipline. So I think you're afraid of some of the risk. And there's also this fear of failure you're carrying. And everybody carries this abundance threshold, which I think is really important. And everybody has a number that makes them uncomfortable. And everybody could play this at home and be like, imagine somebody said $50,000. Cool, wonderful, whatever. I'm comfortable with that. Now imagine somebody said $3 billion. Like, did you feel okay about that? Were you thinking, where the hell, what would I do for that? Did you start rejecting it in a way? So get comfortable with your threshold, because it means you're going to sabotage every project under that. So get comfortable with it and then push the barrier, push the envelope. Play with that imagination and imagine receiving that much money so that you can keep raising that threshold in the process. And that fear is rejection. That fear is sabotage. So you got to say, like, I have this weird relationship at this level of money. Why am I carrying this weird relationship? What is it that I believe is going to change about me if I had this type of security in my life? So I'd say play with that, work with that. And, a couple of ways to bypass that. One of my favorite things that Spirit tells me all the time, in Spirit, people say this too, that time is irrelevant. And it kind of is in some ways, because if you're sick and you have surgery, you were forced to take the time, right? So we're forced to take the time. But when we're doing something for ourselves, we say, I don't have time. And so a lot of this really fascinates me, because it's like when we're forced, we find time, but when it's about us, we don't find time. So I'd say that's definitely a sabotage thought process. We make time for things that matter, right? If it was about your surgery, you wouldn't say, I don't have time. I'm just going to go slowly die. I'm just going to keep being uncomfortable until I wither away. You're going to say, dang, I have to make time. That's important. So treat it the same way. Say, this is my time. I will make time. I will be disciplined. And then show up for yourself. Even if it's setting a schedule or checking in or clocking in, show up for yourself and give it 110%, because you can. And, beautiful things can happen when we devote our time and energy to something, for sure. It's a great time to do it.
All
You know,
right, I appreciate it.
Diane, thanks for that very great question. And I want to just add to that a little bit from a personal experience. I sat with Grant Cardone. I don't know if you're familiar with who he is,
I'm not.
Jasenia. He's a billionaire.
Okay.
And in 2008 he went to zero, and
Mhm.
in 2008 I also went to zero, and we both had in our minds, you called it an abundance threshold. And in my mind, I said, well, I lost $12 million. And so for me, my abundance threshold at the time was I want my $12 million back. And so the day that I got to sit down and talk to Grant, I had done my calculations. I was like, oh, dang, I got the 12 mil back. Right. And Grant had said to me, oh, dude, I started at the same place at the same time as you, but in his head, his abundance threshold was $1 billion. And
Oh.
that's exactly where he got. So we in the same amount of time, like Jasenia just said, in the same amount of time was completely irrelevant. And you know, I love the man, but I don't consider him to be one of the most intelligent. Like, you know, he's not like this like genius guy, right? He's a simple dude. But he hit the billion because in his brain, there like Tim just said in the chat, there was no choice but to be a billionaire. And so, figure out what that is. But thank you for that question. It was really, really great. We're going to keep it going. Bye, Diane. Nice to see you. Next up, we've got a very good friend of mine. Oops, sorry. You're coming up, Jane. Sorry, that clicked wrong. We are going to Corianne Wright. Hi, Corianne. Nice to see you.
Hi, Jamil. It's so good to be here. Hi, Jasenia. Thank you so
Hi.
much. This is
Great,
fun.
great,
I just
great.
feel like I showed up to a party today.
You did show up to a
Love
party. It's a
Spiritual
great party.
party.
We're happy to have you here. I am going to remove myself, and Corianne, take it.
Thank you.
Hello.
Jasenia, hi. I have been in a shedding season, a clearing season, for the most part, what I feel like I'm experiencing. And I'm looking for purpose. And that feels like a really big word, but I feel like I could put so much energy in if I knew the one thing I was supposed to be, the thing, right? And I'm not asking you for the thing exactly, but I would love to know if there are gifts that you see I should be leaning into or blocks that you see I need to be working towards to get there.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. Purpose is everybody's favorite question. And I think it's that question that like really kind of creates a chokehold on our experience in a lot of different ways. I'm going to say, generally speaking, what I believe purpose is, but then I'm going to go and give you some useful information for the now. Okay.
Please.
And I think this is good for everyone because I have found that this particular incarnation is really transformational in a lot of ways. Most of us seem to be here to really implement or create kind of like our own flavor or modality onto Earth in some type of healing, transformational way. And what I've seen is that it's usually associated with their gift structure, their past life themes, and their soul level jobs. And it's kind of clustered into like, this is what I'm here. This is my magic. And I love that. And I've been seeing a lot of that here. So I think that I can't do all of that for you right now, but I can give you kind of like the tip of the iceberg and what I think that looks like for you so you can get going on that journey. So one moment while I look that one up. So a couple of things. Your part of your magic is really in helping other people find their magic. It's almost like this beautiful ability to go in and see where someone needs more light, where someone needs more love, where someone needs more support, and then kind of bring them to a place of facing that and elevating that and even amplifying that for the world. And it does feel like personal development to a degree. It does feel like you are supporting kind of the struggling in society, the people who are really struggling to find a voice or a purpose or a place to fit in. And it's beautiful, but it also feels incredibly fulfilling. I think most of us would be a little overwhelmed and taxed by some of that work. And so anything you do has to have a greater purpose, and that purpose has to be helping kind of like the disempowered and struggling. And it has to, in whatever version or layer you do that, it feels like you have a lot of different layers you access that and support people through, whether it be, like I said, the more extreme to personal development. It's a really beautiful platform you've kind of created for yourself to support others. And I am hearing and feeling like your soul has a deep pattern in relationship with loneliness. There's this feeling of kind of like never really feeling seen and loved and supported at its depth. And so I think that part of that wound is what inspires all this beautiful work. And I think kind of leaning into that more instead of feeling victimized by it might help you really feel more fulfilled and full. And on that journey, you do find the love and attention and connection you deserve. And I think that's also really important. You know, you really need a special type of person in your life, because superficial doesn't cut it for you. And so it's almost like your rare energy requires rare reciprocation. And I just want you to keep that in mind, because the pain of that feeling is something I'm feeling. And I just want to share that with you, so you know there's something to look forward to. It's not supposed to be that way forever.
Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
She's a lovely human, and she actually, oddly enough, once a week does come on and onto my platform over here and help so many people with their journey in real estate investing. And this is something that she just actually started in the year and has been doing an incredible job, just truly being like a light for so many who are struggling with their businesses. And she's also a tremendous artist. And so Corianne, just keep shining bright, girl. We love you.
Thank you, Jasenia. Thanks, Jamil.
So welcome. Thank you.
We're going to keep it going over here. And my next really good friend here, and I want to make sure she knows that she's also my good friend. I always see her on the call. I always see her in the community. She's like cheering and very rarely asks a question. So I'm actually super happy that she's here today asking a question, because Jane, I mean, I notice things, right? I see you like dancing on the Zoom and like you're like always just so like supportive and happy, and you are like, you cheer for people and you love so much, but I've never really heard a lot from you. And so I'm super interested. So I'm going to leave.
Thank you, Jamil, so much. I mean, so much to me. And I think I caught a kiss from you yesterday. So I don't know if it was in my imagination, but anyway, thank you so much for this meeting. And I'm not really sure what to ask. I have something specific on my mind, but there's so many things that I could ask you that I would like to know what vibe are you getting the strongest? I want to listen.
Okay, let's see. And this seems to connect to your, there's a pattern here for your upraising, but let's just start with the first part. You are very intuitive, you're very sensitive, and you know that, you know things, and you don't know why you know things. You feel things, you feel people's feelings and emotions, and it does give you a really powerful version of empathy and support, but also feels overwhelming sometimes, like most people. Spirit told me this beautiful thing one time, and it's now one of my favorite quotes, and it's that our greatest gift is first our greatest burden. It's like this weight we carry that we can't always understand and share. And there is a beautiful gift you have to feel and read and understand people. And that can be overwhelming sometimes. But that's what I mean about it. Seems deeply connected to your family line, women in your family, I should say. Like I'm seeing a grandmother who is this very similar, just intuitive and very sensitive to her world, and almost a little quiet about it. Like she just knew the thing and did the thing and put it in her work and in her actions and in her support, but didn't always talk about it. She just thought it was being a good like provider or woman or person. So it's really interesting. There's this connection you have in your lineage to it that I think you're going to begin to unravel as you tap into it. And there's likely a lot of pain with it too, because in many ways, there's always pain unless it's mastered, right? Always going to be pain unless it's mastered. So we all, if we don't learn to manage our gift, especially ones with emotional connection, will feel the heaviness and burden and sometimes even depression of not being able to face or manage or filter what we are bringing in. So when you're kind of reviewing and tapping into that pattern a little bit, you may see some of that pain show up, that you are finding peace and healing, what that looked like or how it surfaced, whether it be pulling away from people or not engaging as much, or feeling distracted or disconnected or disassociated, however that looked in your patterns.
Thank you. Can you tell me which grandmother?
I'm not sure. I keep seeing women though, so I'm thinking it's the feminine line here. So if I'm seeing women, I'm thinking it's your mother's mother. But there's a strong feminine kind of gifted power you're carrying with you. And that's something that I think would be really fun to uncover. It's really important for people to understand that our genetic code is usually tied to our past life experience. So understanding some of that genetic code and tapping into some of the spiritual practices in your place of origin of sorts will actually help you bring more familiarity to your gift and your power too. So that's important. Like, for example, I'm Puerto Rican, so we tapped into the Taino roots. I have Taino blood. So when one of my first spirit guides was a Taino shaman. So you're going to find more power and gifts and connection if you kind of retrieve that genetic history and focus on those areas and those belief systems. I think you're going to find a deep familiarity with the information you're receiving and getting.
Awesome. Can you feel anything? Are you getting any message about my health?
Again, as Jamil warned, it's important that everybody do their due diligence and see a licensed professional always. But we are seeing a theme around the heart, whether it be a lot of pressure or weight or heaviness in that area. It just seems like it's under a lot of strain. And I'd say it's really important to be proactive about it. It feels like a lot of decisions could be made lifestyle-wise to help alleviate some of the issues and be proactive before it becomes a difficult experience or a negative experience or takes from us. So I love proactive behavior. Spirit wouldn't tell us anything we can't do something about. So I think focusing on heart health and just cardio health is really important.
I'm shocked because it's not, nothing's coming up in that area at all.
So get your blood work done and be proactive and ask about heart health and start working towards making sure that you're doing everything you can to avoid and alleviate any predispositions about that.
Okay.
Thank you, Jane. It was so nice to see you.
Thank you, Jamil.
Great to have you up here and ask a question. This is incredible. We're going to keep it going here. Next up, one of my, again, very special friends, and I'm super happy that she's popped in here to ask you a question. Sharon Lee Smith, hi, joining us from Virginia.
Hey, Jamil, I'm really good. Nice to see you.
Great to see you as well. I will now do my departure. Oops, no, that's you get to say.
Wrong one. Yeah, it's nice to be on here with you. It's funny. I talk in front of audiences and I don't get nervous, and I go and meet famous people and I don't get nervous. But I'm really nervous right now talking to you.
No,
I just want you to know that. So, a couple of things, kind of along the lines of what Sarah asked and what Corianne asked. Last year I went through kind of a breaking down and a what's my purpose, what's my direction journey, And I have gotten to a point where I know my purpose. I know my goal. I know why I'm here. And I'm a little lost and unsure of how or what the next steps are to get there. So I'm a little lost. I'm wondering where I'm blocked and what you see as the next or the best next steps to reach my goals and to fulfill my purpose.
Okay. I'm sorry you're nervous, but I will dive in and I'll see what we find.
Okay.
Okay. Now that I've listened in a little bit, what do you think your goal is? What do you think your purpose is?
So my goal and purpose really is to help domestic violence victims.
Oh, okay.
And so coming out of that world, I am forming a foundation, and it will be supporting several various groups, but shelters, mental health providers specifically geared towards assisting domestic violence victims, also career and education and training to help them, start a new life outside of those situations.
That is so beautiful. My mother, so my mother was a single mother because our father was abusive, and we have a whole pattern. And I, of course, repeated the pattern and had a whole history of domestic abuse and issues and stuff. So thank you for doing that. It's really beautiful work. Your specialty is actually neurological programming and public speaking. So yeah. I'd say that's your goal. That's how you're going to do the thing. And so doing more of that is actually exactly what the trauma survivors need, because as we both know, that type of trauma takes a really heavy weight on your physiology, on your mental program, on your mind, and it creates literal neurological damage. So yeah, your skill set being neurological programming is so amazing and perfect for that vision, but that's your focus. So if you don't know what to do, it's to get that straight, and everything else kind of freely flows. You're being supported in this. And when you're aligned with your purpose, things move quickly. So I'd say work on what that looks like. The storyline is going to be, tricks and tips to neurologically kind of unravel the trauma and the experiences and the programming we endured that allowed these types of behaviors in our lives, or allowed these types of people to repeat these patterns with us, and why and how we can clear and heal that, how we can remove that problem, and then support each other through it.
Awesome.
It's so interesting because I actually know that about Sharon, that
yeah,
she didn't share that publicly here today, but I do know that Sharon has a deep desire to be a public speaker and to be able to share her experiences with others in that way. So you're spot on there, Jasenia. That was really cool. So Sharon, you know what you got to do now. Get to it. Okay. Next up, we have another one of my favorite people. And I'm really excited to see her here. I'm very curious about what she's going to ask. So we're going to bring up Elisha. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for doing this.
Of course. And now I will moonwalk out of here.
Okay. Good to meet you, Jasenia.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, okay. Sorry. I'm covering from a little bit of a cold. So my question, I've actually kind of been thinking about this today, is I am doing a lot of things. I'm raising kids, I'm trying to do real estate, and I have like big dreams and goals in my head. And I also want this simple life of slowness. I want to be like a very wealthy farmer. but I am being pulled in so many directions. I feel like I'm not doing well at anything. And so it's hard for me though to give up one thing, because I feel like I'm letting go of that dream or that vision of that thing. But I also feel like it's maybe impossible to do everything, or maybe it's not. I just need to keep on
and
doing
you're
the
literally
grind.
running yourself ragged. You're literally running yourself to the ground, right? You're recovering from illness and feeling drained and exhausted and stuff. Here's something I want you to consider. And I get the attachment. I fully do. You know, I've been there myself too. You have an attachment to things that don't need to be an attachment. For example, there's a lot of tasks you do every single day that could be delegated to someone at a very affordable price, whether it be laundry or cleaning or a couple of errands or groceries or some help around the house or food or some things. There's a lot you do you actually don't have to do. And I'd say get really clear with that, because I think you could open up 30% of your day and then take a lot of that energy and put it into something you're really passionate about and not lose the value, not lose your relationship with your kids, not lose the things that you really value and find important. And the attachment I see is that it's almost like you feel like that's builds character and that's your character, and letting go of some of that responsibility almost feels lazy for you, but that's your attachment. You have to realize this isn't lazy. If I could make $30,000 in a couple years or in a week or in a month, putting this much extra time into this project, then it makes more sense. It's energetic efficiency. It's intelligence. It's not actually lazy at all. So I think play with that. Imagine somebody else was in the room and what they could do. Imagine giving yourself an hourly rate for these tasks. And then you would think like, wow, doing dishes took me an hour. I could pay someone $20 an hour to come do my dishes. Would it have been worth it? You know, how much money could I have made in an hour when I put my grind in and my focus in? And sometimes when we do the math, we realize how unrealistic it is. And we're like, yeah, somebody else could be helping me, you know, do the dishes, do some laundry, clean, organize, do some errands, pick stuff up, do stuff I really don't want to do. Or it's stuff you want to do, but still you got to be able to release some of that. And then you can get to your goal, you know, then there's the heavy work. Then you can go bust your ass on the field and farm. If that's really your dream, if that's really your vision, it's about getting the money and freedom to get there. Right.
Yes. Okay.
So remember it's about energetic efficiency. Break up the day. Think about, what do I not have to do? And what are the really important things I never want to give up, never want to give away?
Okay. Thank you. I will look into that.
Food for thought. I mean, you know, just today I had Bobby do yoga for me because I have no desire to do yoga. So I was like, Bobby, I'm going to give you, you know, pay you today to do yoga in the airport 3 times. Elisha, I love you. Nice to see you as
Love
always.
you. Thank you.
Look at those tasks. You never know. There's things around that you don't need to be doing.
Sure. Thank you.
See ya. We're going to keep going here. Alethea is next. Hello, Alethea. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Can you hear me?
Wonderful. Yes, we can hear you. You're great. Good to see you. And I
Okay.
will now let you take this.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Great.
Oh, okay. I'm in this feeling of anxiety that I will not be able to complete everything that I have set out to do before leaving a legacy for my children. I started doing real estate, trying to, for 3 years now, and I always get to a certain point, and like Diane said, I feel like I'm self-sabotaging. I've been in helping professions for years. I've been a retired nurse. I was a massage therapist, and I've had a past life reading some years ago, and I was told that in most of my lifetimes I was a healer, and I was in healing professions. I didn't even tell them that I was a nurse. So I'm feeling like, is real estate for me? Because I'm trying to do this, and my ultimate purpose is because I want to house homeless veterans. I want to house homeless female veterans, homeless veterans, because I'm a veteran, and I have experienced homelessness in my life twice. So I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. And so that's my goal, is to get into real estate to do that. And I feel like trying to do all the other strategies, I just can't seem to succeed. So I would go in a different route. You know, I became a property preservation specialist, and then I became a notary. I figured maybe I can notarize documents for people. You know, I try to find other ways to get involved, since I can't seem to make any progress doing wholesaling or doing, you know, flipping or whatever. So I take the path of least resistance, you know, or the low hanging fruit or whatever. But I really want to do this because I feel like I need to, And I feel like time is running out. I'm in my 60s, and I feel like time is running out, and I'm not going to be able to fulfill that goal or that purpose, that I so desperately want to do right now.
Okay,
So I don't
that
know.
is very beautiful, and thank you for that. And I think that it's a really beautiful vision. And I also experienced homelessness as a child, so I think it's really important vision, and it's part of my goal too in this world to do something about a lot of those difficulties. So thank you so much for having that type of passion and that drive. One thing I like to really remind people is there's nothing keeping us from doing the things we want to do today. And I'd say, how can you support that population tomorrow without worrying about, a 30-year trajectory, 10-year trajectory, or even 5-year trajectory? There are beautiful ways to help tomorrow. And this was something I had to deal with too. So some of those ways, like how do we give to these places? How do we volunteer at these places? How do we meet more of the homeless population? How do we find funds or resources to develop these things? And what I'm really feeling and seeing is that you really need a place of, it feels like investors and advisors, because this is a charitable organization and event. And if properly organized, it could be funded by those types of roads or routes. So I think that, first of all, getting your feet in there and understanding more of the politics in this type of world and involving yourself through this volunteering platform might help you get a better plan. It might lead you to some companies that are looking for kind of grounded resources to put some of these things together, and then kind of involving yourself that way. It feels like you're trying to build, the house from scratch, but I don't really think that that's even necessary, honestly. I think that it's a complicated way to kind of put it together. Also acknowledge that your legacy is in the things you teach people. So the moments you spend with people, the imprint you leave on people, the love you give people, there's so much you do that is leaving a really powerful legacy, that to feel like that's not that valuable because you haven't got your name on a building, I would hate for you to have to believe that, because it's not true. There's so many beautiful, powerful things that you've left with people that they will always remember, that are much more valuable than even that. But I do get what you mean about wanting to give back that way. So I'd say there really is nothing stopping you. Just dive in the ways that you can dive in now. And then I think the road will become a lot clearer for you, but it looks like more like investors somehow. It doesn't look like it has to come out of your private pocket.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that that's the other situation, is that I have a fear of trusting people. And even though I'm in the communities and I listen and see what people are doing, and I go to Pace Morby's community and I jump in and join groups, and then I back out because I feel like I don't know if I can trust anybody because of past experiences. So that's something I feel like I need to overcome as well.
Right. And I mean, you don't have to trust anybody to involve yourself and give back and support. You don't have to trust anybody. Nobody's asking you to put your name on somebody's deed or to open up your bank account to anybody or anything like that. It's just about finding ways you feel comfortable involving yourself that don't require you to feel vulnerable either.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your vulnerability today, Alethea. It was really great to see you. We're going to keep it going. I want to be respectful of Jasonia's time as well. Great to see you. And we will be back here with Cameroon. Cameroon, how are you?
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Great to see you. Yeah, we can hear you great.
Awesome.
I'm gonna take off.
This is so nerve-wracking. Thanks for doing this.
Why is everybody nervous?
So since I met Jamil, this trip, this astral flipping has been phenomenal. I've experienced so much great. But every time, in fact, last month, I ended up talking to a medium who ended up telling me a lot of things through my brother that passed away 22 years ago and some ancestors. But to you, I still have a question. Every time I'm trying to close a deal or going closer to my dream, I feel like I'm getting spiritually attacked through my family, through everybody around me. Also, where's the blockage? I'm confused about what's happening. Where's all this blockage to complete the dreams that I have?
So a couple of things. Let me just listen. Hold on. So there's a lot that goes into self-protection. There's a lot that goes into spiritual protection. And so this is like a tiny little sliver of a bigger picture. But I like to say that generally speaking, we can't, nothing that we don't believe in, things we don't believe in can't have control over us. And what I mean by that is if I called you a duck, you wouldn't be offended. You probably think it was silly. You'd be like, I'm not a duck. But if I said something that somehow triggered a wound, a belief system in you, you would be very offended, very emotional, and feel like it was a personal attack, right? Because it's connected to something else that you believe is real, but the duck had no connection. This is how we give away our power, right? So when you're feeling attacked, when you're feeling like you're being targeted, there's something in you that's allowing it or believing in it. And it's, what have I not cleared? Where am I looking for outside validation? Where am I still seeking these attachments? What is it that I'm still attached to or tethered to that is pulling up these types of attacks and belief systems? And I do come from a place of, I've experienced this millions of times. So I'm not saying I'm perfect and I haven't been attacked and haven't had these experiences. I did, which is how I learned how to manage it. And I had terrible boundaries. And I wanted to save everyone. Honestly, I did. I want to save everyone, even if I knew that they weren't really good for me or didn't have my best intentions in mind and weren't really supportive or loving in the way that I deserved to be supported or loved. I wanted to save everybody. So I always let my boundaries down. And a good way to test boundaries, physically speaking, is, are you showing up to situations that are no good for you? Are you showing up to places that are draining? Are you showing up to places where you know that these people don't really have your best intentions in mind and they're not really supporting you or helping you elevate? Do you know what I mean? That's a great way to hold ourselves accountable. How many of those situations do I participate in? That's a block. Spirit explains it to me this way. They're like, if you have a table of 7, those are the closest people to you. They're going to feed you. They're going to elevate you. They're going to support you. They're going to give to you just as much as you give to them. That's your circle. They said, now, if you have someone who's poisoning the table, they're going to ruin everybody's journey. Right? It's important to make sure that the people at your personal table have earned the seat there. And it's okay to walk away from people that aren't serving the table. And that means taking them off and making space for people who do. Be better about who you are participating with and who you are letting into your life. Be pickier. Let them earn that position in your life. Let them reciprocate energy. Let them show up the way you show up. Let them love as deeply as you love. Let them give back to you like you give back, even if it means having to itemize stuff. And I know that I say this because it's kind of funny for me that so people who are very sensitive have a hard time setting a boundary. They have a hard time saying, like, I gave you so much and now I'm resentful. And this was an unequal relationship from the beginning. So a good way is to do the math is kind of visualize, like, okay, well, I text them, I reached out, I made the appointment, I put all the effort. I'm just going to step back a little bit because I haven't done anything. So there's kind of like an exchange, and you just know that you've done your part. And if they're not reaching out, then that's a really good sign that they're not your people. Because people who love you are going to reach out, they're going to reciprocate, they're going to miss you, they're going to want to do their part. So let people do their part. A lot of that attachment to those types of relationships are that we're so afraid to be alone that we're clinging to toxic people that are not actually serving or elevating us. And I do see the desire to want to grow and elevate yourself and kind of release yourself of these patterns, but you're going to have to be comfortable with the idea of being alone for a little bit and then letting the right people show up. Again, make the space, right? Clear the table, let the right people show up. But there's that weird place in between where we have an empty table that panics the hell out of people. So get comfortable with it, because that's your next phase. That's your next level. Surround yourself with people who are going to really elevate you, because you're there. You're clear-headed, you're focused, you're driven, you are great with self-awareness. You're ready to do the work. You're ready to show up for yourself. It's the table.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cameron, for being vulnerable. And actually, that very much resonated with me in my life and situations that I've been going through as well. It is hard. It's hard to clear the table sometimes, because it doesn't mean that we don't love the people that are at the table. It just means that maybe we're meant to be eating with others. instead at this time. So I love you, Cameroon. So thank you so much for coming up here and being vulnerable and asking the questions. Jasenia, this was incredible. My goodness, how fun was this? People are asking, can we do this every night? No, we can't, guys. This is going to be every other Thursday. I just am so grateful that you, I know this is hard work. I know this takes a lot out of you, and we like rapid fired on you today. And so I just want to, be grateful for that and be respectful of that as well. It was a lot, but I'm sure everybody who got to listen in, everyone who had the privilege of asking you a question, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your vulnerability and showing up and supporting. And it's been a lot of fun. And I really appreciate everybody having the courage to step on and share experiences, even if, like we said, even if you're on all sides of the belief system. It was fun.
Absolutely. Now, before we let you go, I've been actually getting messages and texts from people saying I was too nervous to come up and ask a question. I'd actually prefer to be able to work with Jasenia one-on-one. So before we let you go, can you please share with us your social media, how people can get a hold of you, how people can interact with you, how people can work with you?
Yes. So I only deal with a handful of clients one-on-one over the year. So what I'm mostly doing and feeding now is a program we call live group coaching. And I go on Zoom and I teach and lecture about really amazing subjects. And we do give the audience opportunity to suggest specific subjects. And then we open it up at the end for something like this, Q&A questions and live little sessions. The audience is very intimate, loving, and supportive. They're a bunch of my followers and students. They're really great. So I'm also a teacher. I do a lot of teaching on how to heal, clear, understand energy, understand your gifts and use your gifts appropriately. So that's also on my website. And I do have a lesser subscription Discord group I was talking about earlier that's more self-help. So I give journaling exercises, experiences, and we support each other through the self-evaluation, whether it's like a childhood healing or trauma with intimacy or trauma with money. Like we talk about what that means. We talk about how to clear it, how to face it. Those are usually channeled by what is astrology helping us face right now. So it's astrologically in tune to what we should be dealing with and facing at that moment. So those are the ways to connect. And all of my social media pages are Soul Architect Jasenia. It's also my website, soularchitectjasenia.com, or jasenianazalilo.com. Both of them go to the same place.
There you have it, guys. In the chat, we've got the website in the chat. Bobby is, I believe, very quickly typing your social medias into the chat as well. Maybe not, because there's some underscores in there. I don't know. Are you doing it, Bobby? He's working on it. Give him a second here to just get it there, because I know that there's people that want to follow you and want to interact with you. And we're gonna be back, guys. So don't feel disappointed if you didn't have an opportunity. I know it was like you're kind of like, oh, should I? Shouldn't I?
There's never a reason to be nervous, especially not with me. I am so open. I am such an open book. I haven't had a question that really makes me uncomfortable. It's all really just about self-discovery and having fun with it. So I hope that, if you were nervous today, you come back in a couple weeks, maybe you have a little bit more courage and you'll ask the question.
Amazing. Jasenia, I love you so much. We'll be in touch, and we'll see you guys all again here in a couple weeks on Ask